The 3-hour breathing session, intense breathing, had the same methods as LSD. The breath is the only thing in our unconscious part of our nervous system which you can change. The breath frees actually a lot of tension in your body up and makes it come to the surface so it can be processed. Breath is a mirror and a tool. My name is Roel. I'm living here in Amsterdam, where we currently are. I work as a physiotherapist, I work as a meditation trainer, a breath coach, I do energy work, and above all, I'm a human being that's still learning a lot in life. It started in my profession as a physiotherapist. Quickly I saw that just physical is not enough. And I expanded to mental with meditation and stuff. And then my focus mainly went to who are we in essence and more nature. So I took in breathwork and those kind of things, which connects us to our essence. And that's where the journey is still heading.
What you are giving to your clients? What is the value of your work?
I hope I give them access to themselves. So as a physiotherapist, we are supposed to heal people. And I don't believe that we heal. I think the body heals, nature heals. And we just make sure that all the circumstances are there for healing. And I think that's what I add. I add them tools, I give them tools and methods, and I add therapy to reconnect with the self-healing capacity of the body and mind.
What are the foundations of optimal health?
I think the basics, what you hear a lot, is food, movement and relaxation. But I think the essence of health is energy, vitality. So if you're able to do what you like to do, and if you get out of bed energized and you have passion for life and you want to live, I think that is what defines health for me. And the components there, of course, are food, a lot of physical exercise, enough physical exercise and relaxation. But next to that, definitely do what you do and like to do and what your heart tells you to do. Find your passion.
And what tools do you use to achieve this goal?
Yeah, mainly tools which are natural to human beings. So obviously there's movement and food, which is actually food, right? So as nature intended it to be. But also breathwork, meditation, the access we have into our own system, we can directly tap in. What is done for many centuries in every old culture, what we forgot for some time. And I think it's so important, and it really will reconnect us to who we actually are, where we kind of got lost as humanity to some extent, I think.
You used two words, well-being and health. Is there a difference between these two?
I think well-being is the result of health. It comes automatically. And if you're feeling well, you can also, of course, be healthy, but it's not... You can also feel well by drugs. But well-being in general and health is very intertwined, I think, yeah.
But is it possible that one is healthy but has poor well-being?
I don't know. I think if you're healthy, and I mean in a physical and mental way of health, well-being is probably an automatic result of that. If you're optimally healthy there. Yeah, I think, I never thought of it, good question. But I think it's inevitable if you're mentally and physically healthy that you have well-being.
At some point in life, I seemingly was very healthy. When I did blood check, it was everything green, which normally never happens because you never have everything green, but I actually did. But I was feeling like a very ill person and nobody could help me. But this is the longer story.
But this is why I think physical and mental health. I don't know if mentally also everything was in green, like no stress, you're doing what you like to do. And
well, there were some emotional challenges, but everything was related, in my case, which I realized much later, to my dysfunctional breathing. And now I would like to dive into this topic. You mentioned breathwork. What is breathwork?
Breathwork is working with your breath to get to certain results, states, or get some freedom into your system. And with the main goal of optimizing your breathing in daily life. So that you have the optimal capacity of your breathing to support you in whatever you want to do. And it's kind of training through your breath to get to higher states, like physical training to make yourself stronger and your endurance more, but at the same time making your basic level go up.
And what is capacity in this case?
For instance, lung capacity, right? If you have a very restricted lung capacity, you're not able to breathe deep, or capacity of moving or having a free diaphragm, those kind of things.
And okay, some tension in muscles probably as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And how regulating our breath may help us? What are the benefits?
I always say breath is a mirror and a tool. So your breath tells you a lot about you. Every emotion has its own breathing style or pattern with it. At the same time, the breath is the only thing in our unconscious part of our nervous system which you can change. So we cannot change our blood pressure or our heart rate or those kind of things by just thinking about it. But we can change our breath. So we can tap into the deepest part of our system. So we can regulate and balance out there, which is a very, very big quality we have and we hardly ever use. And then it can change your whole homeostasis as a human being. It can change your mental state, it can change your physical state, and really quickly. There's an interesting research done by a French scientist. And what he did, he exposed students to a certain emotion, to a movie, like fear, sadness, or whatever. And he recorded their breathing. He looked at what is the breathing pattern. Then he sent them home and took a new set of students in, and he just taught him the breathing pattern he saw with the different emotion. Didn't talk about the emotion. And asked him, what emotion do you experience? And they experienced the exact same emotion. It's really cool, huh?
Can you send me the link
Yes.
if there is one?
Yeah, I will have to write down the things like Tom Granger and the link. Yeah, so it's a small study. It's only like 20 students or something, but it was fully 100% that they recognized the emotion. They didn't even know that they were looking for the emotion. They just learned the breathing pattern, and then they were asked, "What do you feel? Is there an emotion that you feel?" And they gave the answer of that emotion. Cool, huh?
So the relation is there.
Yeah, but everybody knows, right? What is your breathing when you're sad? Like. What is the breathing when you're angry?
But if we knew, for example, that anger is located somewhere, speculation, under my ribs or somewhere, maybe we could relax that region in our... And this is maybe stupid question, but...
No, I mean, there's the mirror and the tool. So the anger breathing, everybody has the same, right? It's like forced, it's like pushing, it's like intense, it's inward, of like pushing outward, sorry. But where the anger is stored in your body, I'm fully with you, that can be anywhere. And then you can breathe towards that to release it. So mirror or tool.
Breathing is automatic function of our body. If we start to mess with this, are there any traps, risks that we are exposed to?
Yeah, I love the term "mess with it."
Maybe it's the wrong word.
No, it's perfect. It's fully covers your question.
But I can imagine that someone, well, I'm sure that someone could do it in a wrong way.
Well, I am convinced, also as a physiotherapist, that nature always wants to go to its perfect alignment. So I think our patterns are off due to external circumstances like stress, what we experience, right? Our tension goes up and our breathing goes up and faster and more shallow. But the body knows what is natural. So if we remind the body where to go and we train it to go there, or we expand its capacities again, I'm sure that your body always wants to go to homeostasis, but we lost the way. And I think breathwork is a way to get back there. And even if you do this really intense breathwork, right, it's the relaxation afterwards, and it's the whole package what restores. So I think it's hard for us, also as a physiotherapist, I think that for human body to unalign ourselves with exercises. Nature takes over, nature heals, the body heals, and it wants to go back to homeostasis. So of course you can get into hyperventilation states and stuff. So you have to be aware with the kind of methods you use. But in simple breathing techniques, I don't see any harm.
Is it better to do this with instructor? Or can one do it from internet, from just blog posts? descriptions of exercises?
Depends on the exercises. So if you go for the Wim Hof method, for instance, which is very famous, which is like strong breathing, and things can come up also when holotropic breath and those kind of things. It's nice to have someone there who can guide you if you go to a certain state. But if you have basic breath work, like starting to breathe through the nose and calm breath work, I mean, that's fully safe. And the nice thing about breathing and breathing exercises, you can always go back to your normal breath. And if you go back to your normal breath, the thing you're in almost always stops. So you can interrupt it all the time, every time.
This sounds like a security switch, something like that.
And if you're really in these intense states, right, that's harder. And I think that is very good. I also have a training as an instructor in that, like to guide people through emotions, through intense breathing. And then it's good to have someone there with you or one person before the group. But I also don't think there's a lot of safety problems or health problems that actually can occur there. But that's also their instructions, right? They literally say, do this in a safe place. Sit down, lie down. Don't do this in a swimming pool. And I think that's also what they express. And yes, then it can be dangerous. But if you meditate in the middle of traffic, that's also dangerous.
So you mentioned Wim Hof method. What kind of breathworks are there? What others?
Oh, there's a huge spectrum. I mean, it's huge. I think simply you can divide all the methods in calming down your breath. That's where the calming and soothing things are, and working more subtly with your breath, like Buteyko method. And there's methods where you can intensify your breath. So that's the two directions where you go, right? And then I think all the methods can be kind of in one of the two categories. And there's multiple categories which you can make. And with the more intensive work, it's like the Wim Hof method and those kind of things. And that's kind of to loosen up, stir up things. And with the more subtle breathing, you can also get to emotions. But that's more about controlling your breath. But there's a ton of breathing methods. There's a lot of ways to breathe. Yeah.
I would love to dive into this topic. I would love to ask you about the history of it. Are there any traditions? Maybe you mentioned Buddhism in your website. You are not Buddhist yourself, are you?
I was in Buddhism for many years, but now I'm just taking a different path. Still love it, but...
So the Buddha behind is just decoration?
It's decoration, yes, definitely. Yeah. I even had that before I went into Buddhism. I loved the atmosphere of it.
So if I call Buddhism tradition, it's okay, it's rather religion, right? Do they use breathwork?
It's a way of life, yeah. I think every old culture uses breathwork, and in Buddhism as well. And it's a very strong tool. Like also meditation. Meditation is not something of Buddhism. It's done there a lot, and it's smart because it's a very effective tool to use to change or to get to results. And same as breathwork. So I think every old tradition knew this, right? And you find it everywhere. And yes, Buddhism uses breathwork. And if you look at meditation, for instance, the breath is used as a tool, something to focus on, the object of meditation. And you're not... The deal is not to change your breath in meditation, but to observe it. It can change itself, but that's not the goal. Breathwork, the goal is to change the breathing pattern to get to the result. So meditation and breathwork, I teach a weekly class in both, but I don't combine them because there's a difference there. And in Buddhism, I was in Tibetan Buddhism, where you work more with energies and stuff. And then they have fire breathings and stuff to really stir up the system even more to get to the deeper layers. And yes, it's also used in Buddhism in that way. But again, I think Buddhism is just an example, like many old traditions that use breathwork already. Yeah.
I want to ask you about Buteyko method, but before we go into that, I have a question for you that was asked by my previous guest. And you know her, it's Floor.
Hi, Roel. Roel, we did the breath coach education together. In what way did this education, these studies, change you as a person?
Thanks for the question, Floor. This was my entrance in breathwork. I mean, the education we did together was, I did a workshop there, and there was 5 reading sessions, and after the second one I already registered for the trainer education. It really showed me that breathwork works really deep. It's so easy to get to deeper states, and I learned a lot.
What kind of training was that?
The training was circulated, connected breath, connected breathing for an hour, where you see what comes up, and you use your body physiology and sounding and pressure points to let emotions come out, and in a way that can be processed so that they leave your system. It was a big introduction in breathwork that I saw like, whoa, this is so powerful. And it learned me a lot about myself, and also about emotion release and what was in my body and what was going on there. So it was a very effective method, which I found, yeah.
So once again, what is the name of the training? I'm very interested in.
Well, the teacher's called Annette Weers. Annette Weers, she's here in Holland. And I don't know if there's... she did her training somewhere, holistic breathing-ish. But it's in line with a lot of these breathing methods where you do connected breathing, like holotropic breath and those kind of things.
What is connected breathing?
Connected breathing is that you take out the pauses. So you breathe in and then you breathe out. You breathe in, so you leave the pauses out, the breaks out. So it's connected, the in-breath and the out-breath. And then you do that for some time. It looks like hyperventilating, but it's not. It's very controlled. Hyperventilating is up there, connected breathing is down. So, and then your body starts to work and process. You can do connected breathing in a lot of ways, and a lot of methods use it. And if you breathe in 6 seconds, and then you breathe out 6 seconds, and you do that connected, it has a very calming effect. That's what they call coherent breathing, my favorite breathing exercise. But if you do this faster and with intensity, it's more a dynamic form of breath, and the connected breathing is what a lot of methods use. And you can use it to calm down the system and to stir things up and everything, yeah.
If there is some kind of energy in the body, this kind of breath would make waves flowing, right?
Well, emotions are just below the surface, and you see that in traffic, right? Something happens and people erupt, right? And with this breathing as well, they connect you to the deeper system, and the breath frees actually a lot of tension in your body up and makes it come to the surface so it can be processed. Where we hold the balloons underwater all the time, it helps you to get them out there and process and work with it. And that's one way to work with connected breathing. Yeah. So it's more an intense form of breathing. And I think the nice example there, Stanislav Grof, I don't know if you heard of him, and he's the founder of holotropic breathing. He did in the 60s, 70s, he did this work with LSD with patients, right? He was a psychiatrist. So he used LSD to get certain states and process emotions. And then that LSD was banned, and he had to find a new method. And he found that a 3-hour breathing session, intense breathing, had the same methods as LSD to get people into that states. And so that's a form of how strong this can be.
You just said 3 hours.
It's a 3-hour session.
Because I know the term holotropic, but I don't know what it is. 3-hour session, Jesus.
Yes, it's intense.
And the hyperventilation all the time.
Well, it seems hyperventilation, but you're kind of intense breathing, like... It's controlled, so it goes to the lower part of your body, so it's not hyperventilation. But you breathe faster and more intense than you normally would do. And that kind of gets stuff up as strong as what LSD can do with the body. He found similar results.
Do you use this as well?
Well, this was where I was trained for, and this is what Wim Hof does as well, right? He uses this up breathing as well. And I like this method. Normally what I teach is calm, slow, really relaxing, connecting to the body. But I love these methods to do myself, yes.
Can you tell us all the tools related to breathing that you are using as a coach?
Mostly, and this is what people need right now in these days, is relaxation. Right? We want balance, and I think health is balance. And we are way too stressed, we are way too active. So I normally use relaxing methods for people to calm down. For instance, coherent breathing. It's really nice, 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out, 5.5 seconds. So it's a really nice rhythm, which also science supports, that it boosts your heart rate variability and so on and so on. That's a nice one which I use. Nose breathing, definitely one, like to stop mouth breathing and to breathe through the nose, and to have an exhale longer than the inhale. right? Inhale is activity, exhale is relaxation. So if you lengthen the exhale, because you cannot change the volume, right? You have to exhale as much as you inhale, otherwise you kind of explode, right? So, but you can change the length, and the longer the exhale is, the more relaxation there is. So 3 seconds in, 6 seconds out. So this is what I do with clients. The coherent breathing, the 5.5 in and out, that's also what I like to do myself. It's really balancing, and it's, again, my favorite breathing technique. I like the Wim Hof method, and it depends on what mood I'm in and what I need at that moment. So if I need more energy and more activity, I go more for an activating one. But if I'm feeling like overwhelmed, stressed out, I go for a calming one. And that's the nice thing with breathwork. It's so wide. You can choose which suits you at that moment.
I asked you to think of some exercise that you could share maybe with the viewers, or maybe you could guide now, possibly.
I thought of maybe one nice exercise which lasts for 40 seconds, but completely, fully clears your mind. It's a pranayama technique. It's the 9-round breathing. It's very relaxing, and it's also very, it gives a lot of clarity. I can do that one, or the physiological sigh, which is now a lot in science, which is Andrew Huberman. You heard of him, maybe? He promotes this a lot, and he did a lot of research on this method, that it's the strongest method to reduce stress quickly. So we can do the 9-round breathing to the nose, or the physiological sigh. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, let's go for pranayama. But the other, it's easy to find in internet, right?
Yes, the physiological sigh. If you go and look for Andrew Huberman, it's very easy to find.
So let's do the pranayama.
Yeah, it's a little bit less well known. So
40 seconds, you say.
It's 40 seconds, and it will clear up your mind. So this is perfect if you're like reading, like studying, and you're reading a page and you forgot what was on the first half of this page and stuff, right? Or your head is full, or you're lost overview. It's a reset. It's a reset button.
I remember that reading books in high school, well, in school in general, I had this problem always.
I think it's very relatable for most people, yes, for sure. But it's great as a break, just to get yourself out of that state of like maybe overwhelm or short-sightedness. So it's 9 breathings. The first 3 times you breathe in through your right nostril and breathe out through your left nostril. And that seems like a little ninja trick, but you can use your fingers to close the nostril. Second round, or like the second 3 breaths, is in through your left nostril, out through your right nostril. And then the last 3 we do in both, out both. Yeah, I will guide you through it. And so I invite you to join me, of course. So you close your left nostril, and if you want, close your eyes if you're comfortable. And you breathe into your right. Exhale to your left. Breathe into your right. Exhale to your left. Breathe into your right. Exhale to left. Breathe in through left. Exhale through right. In through left. Out to right. In to left. Out to right. Both nostrils in. Both out. Both in. Both out. Both in. Both out. And stay seated with your eyes closed, and see if there's any thought in your mind anymore. How's your mental activity at this moment? And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Very simple, very short. Did you feel a difference?
Well, I felt pretty good before already.
You were pretty good.
But yes, there was one thought coming, and that was a question for you.
Okay, perfect.
Related to this exercise. Because I struggle with this kind of exercise. I kind of fixed my breath, and I'm really happy with that, with the results. It changed my life, the most important thing that happened in my life. But I still have this asymmetry in my nostrils. I always had. When I was teenager, I had this airflow measurement in the hospital, and my left nostril was 5% of normal, and the right one was 15%. Now I don't know what is the airflow. It's still not 100%, but it doesn't have to be. But my left nostril feels always smaller. There's always less air flowing through my left, and it makes sometimes, because it also changes. There are moments that it's other way around for some reason.
That's a very important factor. It's not a deviated septum then. So I understand.
I had operation, by the way.
Oh, you had operation. Sorry, it was fixed. Yeah. Well, it is pretty interesting when they look in a science. Your dominant nostril changes every 90 to 180 minutes.
Yes.
So, and you can take your smartphone and leave the screen off and breathe on exhale on your smartphone screen, and you can see that the condense, like the air, the moisture of the air is on one side bigger than the other, and you know in which nostril you're breathing at currently, and that changes.
That's true, but in my case, because I was really focusing on that, in my case, during the day, my left nostril is most of the time closed. So it changes, it unblocks a little bit, but it's always like 50% of the capacity of the right one. And maybe I will fix it in the future. I have the feeling I will for some reason, but if you have any tips for that, maybe that I would highly appreciate.
Yeah, I think this would be a nice exercise. I mean, there's two things. You have mechanics, right? If you really have a full deviated septum, right? And I didn't know you had an operation. Then, I mean, you can train whatever you want, right? It will not go through. But if you train it, that's the second part. The body is trainable, very plastic, very adaptable. With this method, like trying to balance it, or maybe just breathe through the left nostril for some time. Let's see what happens. Maybe it opens up. It can also be a functional problem.
Using it.
Yeah.
By using. Okay.
It can be functional and it can be mechanical, right? So, and then the question is, where is it? Why is it like a little bit blocked?
Already Buteyko method proved me that by using nose, we can open it. Because if you give up, when you have congested nose and you give up trying to breathe through the nose, it will just close up even more. So maybe, and I was giving up pranayama exercises because of that reason, because it was not pleasant. But now I think I will a little bit push myself.
Yeah, and challenge yourself. So don't force it, but challenge yourself and see what happens, right? Maybe it's like the Buteyko method, like it's use it or lose it in the body. Very simple. I mean, if you stop exercising, your muscles and your endurance and your lung capacity will go down, right? This is just what happens, is nature. So, and if you use it more, you train it. So it can be trainable, and then it's a functional blockage, right? And which maybe can be reversed. But if it's mechanical, okay, then it's harder to train it out. But it's always worth a try.
Yeah, of course, I will. And Buteyko method. I wanted to ask you about it. What did you do? What kind of training did you do, and how you use it? What are the key points from your perspective, the most important points in Buteyko method?
Yeah, I ran into Buteyko. I did the breathwork education where I did with the emotion release, and I want to have something which I can use for my clients and my patients as a physiotherapist as well. So Buteyko moves more into breathing problems and those kind of things. So they did a training with Patrick McKeown. So I'm an international certified Buteyko trainer.
He was himself a teacher, trainer.
Yeah, you can do it with himself. It's an online course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does it also live, but I did it during Corona, so it was online. But you can still do it online, so that's very convenient if he's like with water in between, like a sea in between from here up to there. The basis of Buteyko method is very simple: it's breathing less. So we tend to breathe more in cases that we are short of breath and we think we need more breath. And in our body, actually, there's less oxygen available for the cells. And science shows that if you breathe less, there's more oxygen available for the cells. And that's the key point. And Buteyko himself and also Patrick McGeown, who did a really great job of like making this accessible to a lot of people. It's around that, and mainly. So that's what it taught me, and that's the catch. And the way to bring it to people with useful exercises, that's what I learned in the Buteyko method.
Great. Thank you so much for your answers, insights. They were amazing. I'm really happy that I came here and met you. Very good.
Hi, Roel here from Amsterdam. I'm curious about what's your biggest health advice which you would give someone. What would be the number one takeaway if you could give only one advice to a person to increase their health?